For a long time, Easter Island has been cited as the first example of environmental self-destruction by humanity. However, modern science reveals that we have misunderstood this civilization from beginning to end. About 300,000 years ago, following a violent volcanic eruption, a triangular island emerged from the isolation of the sea. This land, later known as Rapa Nui, remained untouched for eons, waiting for a specific group of voyagers, holding within it the volcanic tuff, the great raw stone from which giants would be carved. Easter Island may not have been a civilization that destroyed itself. By 1000 AD, Polynesians navigated the vast Pacific as if it were their own backyard. There was a reason for their unparalleled seafaring skills. Polynesia lacked vast plains, rivers, or meadows. Instead, thousands of islands were scattered across the ocean, and resources were often depleted quickly. When issues of food, population, or conflict arose, migration was the only solution. They didn't just hop between nearby islands. They reached as far as the South American continent, nearly 7,000 kilometers away. During this process, they acquired the sweet potato, kumara, from South American indigenous peoples, a life-giving crop that thrives even in barren soil. They mastered sophisticated stonework techniques and cultivation methods, bringing them back to the heart of the Pacific. This encounter is now being proven in the realm of science. Large-scale genetic analyses published in 2020 and 2024 revealed distinct traces of South American DNA in the Rapa Nui people, dating back to around 1200 AD. The physical evidence of the sweet potato and the biological evidence of DNA have converged to prove this grand encounter across the Pacific.
To these prepared navigators, the Pacific was not a barrier, but an open highway. Now their gaze turned further, toward the most isolated spot on Earth, Easter Island, the land where the sun touches first. Instead of compasses, these master navigators read the shimmer of sunlight on the waves and subtle color shifts on the underside of clouds. They knew that a brownish tint beneath a cloud signaled a massive volcanic island below. Finally, a chosen group boarded double-hulled canoes, carrying precious sweet potato seeds and seedlings from South America. They did not look back. Leaving their overcrowded home islands, they crossed thousands of kilometers toward their ancestral prophecy. For them, voyaging was not a gamble, but a calculated expansion based on scientific navigation. Upon settling, they began carving statues as an act of ancestral worship. However, this pious tradition sparked an unexpected miracle. Each time a chisel struck the volcanic tuff of Rano Raraku, fine stone dust billowed out. This dust drifted on the wind, settling onto the barren sweet potato fields. Inorganic salts like calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus, long dormant within the rocks, were crushed and mixed into the soil. Over time, the islanders witnessed something strange. Sweet potatoes growing near the quarries and in dust-covered fields were larger and sturdier. To modern science, this was soil regeneration, neutralizing acidic soil and providing minerals. But to the islanders, it was a clear answer from the gods. They believed that the more they carved the faces of their ancestors, the more the moved spirits breathed life into the earth. The conviction that larger and more numerous statues bring greater divine favor became the island's core social order. Moai production became a holy survival ritual, the only bridge to the divine and a salvation from hunger. However, the Moai held another wondrous secret. Recent research analyzing the locations of Moai altars, Ahu, across the island, found a startling pattern. The giant statues were placed precisely where fresh water emerged. In a land with few rivers or lakes, these coastal seeps, fresh water rising from between rocks at the shore, were the only lifeline. The Moai were more than icons of worship. They were giant landmarks pointing to the most precious resource. They protected and commemorated their survival line with the faces of their ancestors. How then did they move these multi-ton giants to the coast? Recent research confirms the old legends. The Moai walked. They were moved upright, tilted slightly forward, and rocked side to side using ropes in a rhythmic motion called neke neke. This march of the giants was a testament to human ingenuity and spiritual devotion.
The history of Rapa Nui was not a record of foolish self-destruction. Recent 2024 studies show that from their arrival until European contact, they never suffered a population collapse. While the palm forests vanished, the culprit was not reckless logging, but the Polynesian rat, an invasive species that arrived with humans. The rats devoured the palm seeds before they could sprout, rendering the forest infertile. Compounded by a severe drought during the Little Ice Age around 1550, the islanders responded with rock gardening. They broke millions of stones to cover the island, creating a stone blanket that prevented evaporation and maintained fertility. This allowed them to sustain a stable population. The Moai remained an ideal survival cry, uniting the community in the face of harsh climate change. The Rapa Nui civilization did not collapse. It was resiliently enduring the limits of its environment.
However, there was a disaster they could not prepare for. In 1722, Jacob Roggeveen arrived to find toppled Moai and a people weakened by long environmental hardships. But the true catastrophe was the fact that the island was no longer isolated. Europeans brought invisible killers, smallpox and tuberculosis. These diseases swept through a population with no immunity. Then came the most brutal blow. In the 1860s, Peruvian slave traders abducted the island's leaders, priests, and sages. The population plummeted to a mere 111 people by 1877. This was the forced erasure of a civilization's memory. The arrival of Europeans may not have been the root cause of the initial decline, but it was the final, irreversible nail in the coffin of a fading civilization.
The history of Rapa Nui is not a record of failure, but a history of response. The story of human will finding answers in a harsh environment. They did not collapse from within. The 2024 genetics tell us that they maintained a healthy and robust society until the very moment they met Europeans. What stopped this civilization was not internal greed, but the waves of disease and chains from across the sea. The Moai no longer just warn us of environmental destruction.
Through their silence, they ask, "We fought to the very end to survive. Why did you misunderstand our brilliance as a self-destroyed paradise for so long?" The true tragedy of Easter Island might not be the environment, but our own perspective, remembering a civilization that endured until the end as a failure.
Thank you for watching.